Hello family, so now I can share with you the testimony of the saints and how they have impacted my life. First, I didn't know anything about the saints, whether Catholic, Orthodox, or even the generals of faith in the Protestant church that I've passed on until I came to Still Small Voice channel and hearing Mother Clare's heavenly experiences and how she was meeting so many people in heaven and speaking to them, getting counsel from them. This is not far off from what many of you, especially in the Protestant church, have seen in many heavenly testimonies from the likes of Jessie Duplantis, a huge Louisiana evangelist that went to heaven and met King David, also Rick Joyner, John Paul Jackson, and many others. Even on YouTube alone, you can listen to the many testimonies of those who have been to heaven and saw their loved ones or met people mentioned in the Bible, and they were given words of encouragement because they know what is going on here with us on earth. The scriptures say the cloud of witnesses cheers on, Hebrews 12:1. So after Jesus led me to his mother, my heart was completely open to the rest of the saints, a whole entire family I didn't know about. I was so excited to meet as they were excited to meet me as well. So in the Catholic and Orthodox Church, a soul is canonized as a saint through a long process in which they get testimony of the soul's life, and they have to work a miracle after death through intercession that is scrutinized and confirmed. And if a miracle is done, like a conversion or healing through a soul praying to them on earth for this, it confirms for them that they are with Christ and have a high degree of favor with him in heaven, for him to answer their prayers and do a miracle. There's so many saints, but this is my personal testimony of a few of the saints that have impacted my life. My first testimony was through Blessed Mother, my mom. October 2019, a young girl who had become a dear friend reached out to me that her 15-year-old sister was 3 months pregnant and was getting an abortion the following Monday. She was so hopeless because her sister's not a believer and didn't want to hear anything about Jesus. I told her to pray a rosary for her, that Blessed Mother's intercession was powerful, and there's always hope with Jesus. We also sent her prayers to the prayer team. She reached out to me on Tuesday saying that they went to her appointment. However, the particular doctor said she was too far along to get an abortion. The sister was upset, decided to set up another appointment with a different doctor. She reached out still discouraged, and I told her to pray again another rosary for her sister, that there's always hope. Sure enough, by the end of the week, she messaged me to say that her sister had decided to keep the baby and no longer wanted an abortion. I was like, hush, Jesus, hush. And now hush, Blessed Mother, hush. Truly, the Lord continues to allow testimonies to flood in so others may know and come to love his mother and see the power in praying the rosary. We thank the Lord, another soul saved for his glory. Now I share this powerful testimony, another one, about Our Lady, the Blessed Mother's praying tree in New Mexico. And once again, the power of her intercession. Now, the praying tree, guys, is a tree that the Blessed Mother told me to consecrate to her in New Mexico in our prairie community at Mother Clare's house. And I shared it on the channel. But for those who are new to the channel, that's what I'm talking about. The praying tree is just a tree that was consecrated as a sacred place of prayer. That would go and pray a rosary and intercede and talk to Jesus. And she told me that any soul that would come in that particular pasture would be saved. Okay, so move forward. I'm telling you, she's a great prayer partner. This is the same pasture I mentioned in some previous videos on the channel before. It used to be called the Killing Field. I went out to pray, and I met two young men passing through the pasture who were being sought after for a 15-year-old girl who went missing. They were told she was a virgin, and some men got her drunk and went off with her. These two men had a hard and sad background as well. Coincidence meeting them through this? I think not. I encouraged them to realize that they were on consecrated ground and the power of prayer. So I prayed the rosary for this young lady and the two guys and ended up being the investigator of the city and sharing with them the power of prayer as well. Not only was the girl found a few hours later, but one of the guys recommitted his life to Jesus. I'm telling you, Blessed Mother is amazing. And I got a chance to do the Lord's Supper with this man and a seed planted in the heart of the investigator of the city. The fruit is undeniable. The Lord is really moving truly at that sacred prayer tree and using Blessed Mother to do it, especially in the pasture. And now this prodigal son is coming back home. So that's a wonderful testimony of her intercession. She's also helped me through some of the most difficult emotional trials when I wanted to give up or I couldn't endure. I prayed a rosary and received great peace and many more times great grace not to give up on God, on myself, or on others. She is the miracle worker. She's the one who held the promise of marriage for me, kept Father Derek and myself so that we would get married to do the Lord's will. She works behind the scenes in all believers' lives, one way or the other. Then my sister, my friend and spiritual mother, Saint Therese, the little flower. There's so much I can say about her. When I got to the mountain, I had no idea about a religious life or what the Lord was calling me to. Holy Spirit led me to her book on Mother Clare's shelf called The Spiritual Doctrine of Saint Therese. As I began to read it, I was floored because many of the same things Jesus told her, he had told me in my alone time. I realized my vocation, too, was to love. I was called to love like Christ. Now, how to do it? She helped me with her many examples in her life, and she made it clear to me why the Lord called me to the refuge and how to die to myself. Through the novenas I prayed to her, she made room for the Lord's will to become very clear to me concerning the city of God. I did another novena to her for Father Derek before we were married, and I remember that my intention was not answered. I felt so disappointed because she usually comes through powerfully. So I began to lose hope in praying to the saints, if I can be honest. But just like Jesus said in the previous messages, it's to stretch our hope until the appointed time when our prayers are not answered when we seek the intercession of the saints. It wasn't until I got to Sierra Leone and Father Derek proposed to me like Blessed Mother said he would, and we set a date for the wedding that I realized it was her feast day. You see, saints love to give birthday gifts on their feast day. The feast day is the day they died and entered heaven to be with the Lord. Jesus gives each saint many graces, and the saints love to spread these graces in the form of miracles for those who pray to them. She worked a miracle, something I've been praying for 3 years, and many times wanted to lose hope in. She had worked it out with Blessed Mother through the novena I had prayed weeks before, and they surprised me on her feast day, our wedding day, that my prayers had been stored up for this amazing surprise. Saint Therese Little Flower is one amazing soul, not only in how she lived, in which can easily be imitated, but also to the miracles that she's working now here on earth. Ask her to be your prayer partner and give her your intention and watch her do a miracle. Papa Pio, known as Saint Padre Pio, has come to my aid so many times. I call him Papa. When I was having demonic attacks, came to my rescue. Right before I was called to the mountain, the enemy tried to stop me at every turn. The last straw was releasing demons to come in the form of animals in my room to make noise and to move things under my bed. It was terrifying. It happened at night at the same time, and I was the only one in the house. They would bang on the door, bang on boxes under my bed, make scratches on the wall like there were rats. It was so scary. I was led by the Holy Spirit to use the St. Padre Pio deliverance prayer online every night as I slept. I kept the audio playing to drown out the noise and the terror of it all. I was new to knowing about the saints, and I didn't know anything about him. I had a dream, and in the dream he showed up in my house with his habit on and a rosary. He was walking up and down the hallway with the rosary praying for me. In the dream, I began to have the courage to pray. Then I looked in my room, and on the wall was a picture of him with fire all around him and the word in caps, power. I woke up and I knew the Lord had given him great authority and his prayers were powerful. Sure enough, the demonic attack stopped after having that dream. And a few days later, I left for the mountain, only to find out that he's the guardian of all heart dwellers, our patron saint. Wow. He led me into my destiny and out of the trap of the enemy. He also came to my nephew's bedside to give him absolution when he was in a coma, and they're going to pull the life support. Because of his intercession and intervention, my nephew's soul was saved. He did it for another family member recently and also helped me to come to Zambia and help the family of Little Purity, which was a disabled girl with a terrible infected open wound, which she had for a year after getting hit by a car. The family are Jehovah's Witnesses and very poor, but he's the one who arranged my invitation, my travel, and the help for Little Purity to be able to have surgery, which cost about $6,000 or so. Then St. Faustina has helped me so much with my religious life. When I was on the mountain, I've done novenas seeking her intercession to have my spiritual covering know God's will for my life, or rather confirm what the Lord is telling me. And after asking her to pray on my behalf, my prayers were answered. Here's a testimony from one of the intercessors about the help of the cloud of witnesses in her day-to-day task. The intercessor begins, "Last week my internet wasn't working. It has been playing up for a while, with the speed dropping and the router restarting itself a few times a day. But this time, the internet went off complete for several hours. The light on the router was stuck on orange, when it's meant to be blue. Blue indicating that the internet is on and running normally. Usually restarting the router fixes it, but not this time. I tried everything I could think of, including prayer, binding anything that could be interfering with it. Nothing I tried worked. So being frustrated as heck, almost in desperation, I looked up to the heaven and said, "Hey, is there anyone up there in the cloud of witnesses that can hear this? Will you please have mercy on me and pray that my internet comes back on? Please, I really appreciate it. Thank you." And quite honestly, whilst I was hopeful it could work, I didn't fully think it would. Especially when I already prayed about it and nothing had happened. But to my surprise and delight, within 5 seconds, the light changed from orange to blue, and the internet worked fine after that all night. Now, it could all just been a coincidence, except the exact same thing happened a few days later. Internet went off, light on the router was stuck on orange for ages, nothing could fix it, and I asked the cloud of witnesses to help again, and a few seconds later the light turned on blue, and the internet was back on. A big shout out to the homies in the cloud of witnesses. That's funny. That's so awesome. What a wonderful testimony. Truly, of how they can help us in the most simple day-to-day activities. I'm telling you guys, they're so amazing. So there's so many saints who have interceded for me and been a part of my life. Many I wouldn't even know until I get to heaven. And the Lord said he would reveal more. When a saint is chosen, they are given to be patrons over a certain group of people or situations depending on what they overcame. You see, that is how amazing God is. Each of us have a unique crosses and trials tailored to us, and graces to overcome them. When we overcome our situations or whatever battle you face, you then have greater authority over that area. So saints become patrons over what they battled and conquered in life. Therefore, their intercession over that thing is powerful. The meaning of patron is a person chosen, named, or honored as a special guardian, protector, or supporter. Blessed Mother is the mother of all Christians who can go to her for anything. She also is patron over many dioceses, countries, and places throughout the world. She also is the patron of aviators, childbirth, motherhood, nuns, the sick, young women, and many, many others. Saint Teresa Little Flower is patron saint of missions and a florist. That makes so much sense why she's so close to me now. Padre Pio is patron saint for adolescents, stress relief, civil defense volunteers, and January blues, rather known as depression, also suffering and illness. And Saint Faustina is a patron saint of mercy, devotion to divine mercy of God. So if you're needing saints who are over, let's say, family and marriages, one of the great saints to pray to is Saint Monica, who is the mother of Saint Augustine. She prayed for her husband's and her son's salvation for about 12 years, trusting God, and both of them came to the Lord, the husband on the deathbed, and her son became a saint. You also have Saint Rita, who is a patron saint of impossible cases. She was married very young, not in love, and married a man who was very, very quick-tempered. He was an assassin. He was physically abusive, and he emotionally abusive, and also too was unfaithful. And she stuck it out, although she wanted to live a religious life. She decided to recognize that her husband was a tool of sanctification, and that God brought her in his life to be a source of salvation. So she steadily, for years, prayed for him fervently, for him to be saved and changed, and he was. And unfortunate thing about it is, once he got saved and turned, those who he was working for and his family, who had animosity towards his family, ended up murdering him. And then on top of that, she had twins and begged God that the twins would not take on the vendetta of their father and take revenge, because that's what the father's family wanted them to do, is to go and have the sons kill the father's murderer. And so she desperately cried out to God that in order that their sons would not commit a mortal sin, that God could do anything to them, just make sure that they don't commit this mortal sin. And God ended up taking them home. So they got sick and they passed away. So she carried several difficult, heavy, painful crosses. But in all of that, God used her to bring the whole family together, both of families that were at odds, killing one another, and brought the whole city together and brought peace to what was a civil war that was going on between these families because of her faithfulness, her obedience to God, just her life. And she ended up becoming a nun like she desired, and God used to do powerful miracles. So Saint Rita is a wonderful saint for those who are needing prayer for their marriage or impossible cases, things that look impossible. So these are just a few that I named. I'll have a link to where you can read about the various lives of the saints in the Catholic Church, the Orthodox Church, and about the generals of faith in the Protestant Church, and seek anyone's intercession concerning different areas of your life. I hope you guys have been blessed. Thank you guys again for your generosity and donations and support. God bless you until the next message.